Horror Fam to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm here with my co-host Duff.
Hey guys.
And our producer Nico.
Hey, howdy, hey.
As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HHN 365, and you can always leave us a voicemail at 407-906-3405. On today's show, we'll discuss the Bride of Frankenstein Lives and Texas Chainsaw Massacre announcements, Horror Night Nightmares, Orlando Spec 3.0, and a bunch of other news and rumors. It's a very news-heavy episode, isn't it, Duff?
Yeah, it is, and I think that's probably every episode, basically until Horror Nights at this point.
Yeah,
we'll try to break up the monotony with other stuff, but
yeah,
some episodes are going to be a little more news heavy than others.
Right, we'll have a hype list episode, and we'll have things. So
once rumors start to die down, we'll have less to talk about. Just be like standard news.
Yeah, we have some things coming. Don't you worry. All right. Well, where should we start, Duff? We have a lot to talk about.
I say we start with the official stuff, the announcements.
Okay, let's do
it. So just like last week, we got a beautiful bi-coastal announcement, this time featuring two houses. For both coasts, we got the Bride of Frankenstein Lives returning to Orlando and now heading to Hollywood, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming to both coasts.
Yeah. Did we get them both announcements at the same time, or did we get them like hours apart? How did the word come out?
So they were released at the same exact time. Basically, they dropped it on Twitter is like the main way they did it, but it would have been available on the website at the same time. Basically, they posted the videos, so we got more videos, which is fantastic. We're going to start with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then we'll go to Bride. So let's do that first. So we could save the really good stuff for after. But they had a video, pretty simple, guy in a closet, Leatherface walking around, thinks he's safe for a second. He's not. Chainsaw comes flying at the screen. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, very classic Halloween Horror Nights ad of this one.
Yeah, exactly. The very standard IP video they would put out, but not when they, it's nice when they don't do just like clips from the movie. So this was actually made for the event. So I do appreciate that.
I liked it.
They did release a bit of news about it as well. Let me just read their little quip real quick. You've seen the 1974 horror classic. Now it's your turn to experience it for yourself. Enter the dilapidated Sawyer house and meet Leatherface and his demented family of merciless butchers. Will you make it out in one piece or in pieces? So this kind of ended our whole debate we had about what form of Texas Chainsaw Massacre would we see. One of the rumors floating around was, will it be a mashup? An earlier one would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. We're going right back to the original 1974 film.
Classic. Yep.
That would be the one we did see in HHN 26. And then for Hollywood, they also had it at HHN 2016.
Right. So I guess we'll have a lot of time to speculate about this, but do you think it's going to be kind of similar to kind of like how American Werewolf in London, where it was like a very close to almost like a repeat, or are we going to get basically a brand new take on the 2016 house?
So I think on our end, we're going to get something quite different. We're looking at, we had it inside of a sprung tent last time. Now it's going to be in a sound stage. You aren't replicating the same house at that point. I think we're going to get much bigger sets. And I think, people are kind of sleeping on it because I don't think Leatherface seems to get people as excited as the other like horror icons do, as far as HHN goes, at least. And the fact that he was here a few years ago, but we haven't seen like Jason or Freddy in forever, people don't seem as excited as maybe they should be. Because, I mean, we haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre house in this form. It's going to be in a soundstage for the first time. And the sets could be amazing, man. The scale is going to be probably phenomenal. And I think that can really amp up the scares. And these are big dudes who are scare actors for Leatherface. And it's intimidating. So I think this house has a really good chance to be pretty scary, and the sets could be really good. So I think it should be a step up From what I already thought was a fine house at 26.
Yeah, I think this one just from early on, I think this is a good chance of being kind of like the fan favorite, like the one with the long waits and kind of the casual fan, just like flocking to it. I think it's going to be pretty crowded.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I think for me, it's probably still not going to be high on my hype list. That's not really its fault. It's just a really strong looking lineup.
Right.
At least
Right.
looking at it before we get to experience it. And there's other things that I want to see more, but I still think this house could be a complete sleeper hit. A lot of the communities, like we were saying, not too excited, but I think it could be a top 3 maybe house. We'll see. I just think it has a lot of potential that not everyone's thinking about, at least not yet.
Right. And what about Hollywood?
So for Hollywood, they did have it in 2016, but that was the Blood Brothers house. In 2012, they did do the 74 original film. And Murdy did confirm, basically, that they're just going to be reusing that 2012 house. He was asked on Twitter during a Q&A what the differences would be between that and the 2012 version, and he said time. And there were a few other.
What a cheeky answer!
Yeah, I know, right? There were a few other comments that also kind of also clarified it, but yeah, it sounds like it's going to be the same house that they had in 2012. Obviously, as Horror Nights fans, repeating a house exactly is not going to be our favorite decision in the world.
Right.
At this, especially for Hollywood, this year is going to be a lot tougher. Budgets are tighter, so repeating houses is going to be so much cheaper and easier to pull off. And then this was in 2012. Think about how many people who are going to go to the event didn't go in 2012.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to cut Hollywood a lot of slack this year. I know we like to kind of tongue in cheek and sometimes for real give Hollywood a little bit of a tongue lashing. But I think this year especially we have to be a little bit more understanding with their situation, and that the fact they're getting an event at all with the amount of houses they're getting, it's I think we have to be kind of happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say we have to be happy with it, but I mean
there could be no event at all. Like it wasn't. This park just opened maybe a month ago or two. Like you have to realize that the situation they're dealing with over there
exactly
is a little bit different.
I think you have to be more understanding than maybe you typically would be, and maybe you go to the event and still don't enjoy it. I mean, just because of what happened, does that mean you should spend money that maybe you didn't feel like was worth it? No. But I think you have to, I hate to say it one more time, but be understanding of the situation that both parks, but mainly Hollywood, is in.
Right.
And then Murdy also did confirm this will be in the Mummy queue. So that's been speculated of forever, and it looks like that was spot on. So
cool. Anything else to talk about or speculate about Texas Chainsaw Massacre officially being announced for both ghosts?
No, I think I'm good. I know there's a few more things on the forums. I don't want to fully get into them. They could potentially be spoilery.
Yeah.
They're technically rumors, but they're probably right. And I don't want to give away anything too spoiler heavy that would actually potentially ruin the house or an aspect of the house for you. So we're going to try to stay away from that.
Yeah, when it comes to the forums, we usually just, if we're going to announce it, or at least talk about it as a rumor, it's going to have to come from one or two different people who have a very high track record. Any other type of stuff we kind of hold off talking about on our show. And
even then, if it's from one of those two, if it's something that's spoiling something potentially big, I'd prefer not to. I don't want to spoil. I don't want to be spoiled myself. It happens because the nature of what we do, and I don't necessarily want to throw that at other people and have to throw in a spoiler warning every 10 minutes in our show.
Yeah. We don't want to upset the ghosts that let Duff know. a lot of knowledge sometimes.
Yeah,
But
and
if
we
you
try
like,
to avoid like spoiling certain just like scenes of houses and stuff. Like we'll
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
rumors of potential announcements, but once a house is officially announced, I think we're gonna set the rule as we're gonna try to avoid spoilery things from there.
yeah, exactly. Now, if it's something we can see, we'll tell you about
Yeah.
it, which is going to come up later in this show, just so you know.
Right.
But for now, let's move on to the Bride of Frankenstein Lives portion of the announcement. First of all, the fact that we had this house as an experience last year at HHN Light, and the fact that I'm still so hyped for it, says a lot about what this house is. So if you guys didn't experience this house last year, just take that into consideration that we've done this house
Yes.
already a year ago, and we are still hyped to do it again. So
Hell yeah.
it's a damn good house, and I am so excited to see it. Hopefully at complete capacity, running at 100%.
Right. I think it's safe to say it was, if not ever all of our favorites, one of our favorites of the three that we saw.
It was my favorite of the three last year.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I only got to do Beetlejuice once, so I can't really count it. But of the other two, it was definitely my favorite. Beetlejuice, I think if I got to see it a couple more times, it could have potentially overtaken Bride, but I can't really count it because I literally got to go through it once.
Now, the reason I brought up how hype we are is because I was hyped before, but this announcement hyped me up even more because this started off with maybe the best HHN house announcement video I have ever seen.
Yeah, you're really hype about this video.
How are you not?
It was a good video.
Phenomenal.
It was a good video. It was a good video.
Have
I
you
don't
seen
know
a
if
better
I
HHN
necessarily
announcement video?
No, it was really good. Yeah, it was good. I'm not going yelling it from a mountain like you guys are, but it was good. You know.
Anyways, phenomenal video. It was actually longer too. The announcement videos have tended to be 30 seconds around
Right.
there. This one was a full minute. And basically it showed the bride working on Frankenstein, trying to bring him back. There's a cool climax scene there at the end where one of Dracula's brides come, and basically the bride puts her in a chokehold while also operating on Frankenstein at the same time. It had this really cool black and white aesthetic, but it showed the red as well. So blood and anything with red would show up as well, and it just looked great. It was a really cool aesthetic to have, and it just had this really hype ending. And I guess it's kind of similar to what we actually saw in the house without spoiling anything. I'm not going to go deeper into that, but it wasn't at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it almost fleshed it out more for us. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of what we saw in that video in the house now. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the reason why I liked it so much is that instead of being like most of these kind of videos we see that are just basically like ads or like teasers, this was almost like a little short movie, like a short film, like a 1 minute, this is like a 1 minute kind of leading in, like almost like a prequel story to about what we're going to see. And I liked that take on it.
And its little score for being such a short thing was like great. And that kind of ties into the house that we experienced. I think the sound design in that house and the music that they used was phenomenal, and it carried right into this trailer here.
Yeah, it was a neat way that they did it for sure.
Nico,
do you think we're going to see this playing in the queue?
I mean, it's possible, but that means they'd probably be projecting it on like the outside of the parade warehouse. Which I didn't mean to say, no, not parade house. That means they projected, yes, no, on the outside of the sound stage.
Or it could be because this was Music Plaza, at least where they had it before. They had the queue coming in through the Music Plaza, right? So you could potentially be playing it on the Music Plaza screens.
That could be done.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
That could be
kind of like what they did with Ghostbusters.
I think with something such a high production value, why not, right?
Yeah, if it's not gonna lay around.
Unless they decide to move where they're going to put this house. But if it's in the same
well,
location, it will stay there, right?
yeah, I mean, obviously the house is staying where it is, but you mean like the way they route the queue?
Right.
Yeah, it's possible they do it different. We couldn't know for sure. But I did find one cool thing out about this video, and that's that they used actual scare actors from the
neato.
house to film it. So it wasn't like a specific casting for actors. They're actual scare actors that were in the house, and it was actually filmed in March of 2020, so before everything went down, really.
Oh, okay. So they've had
So
this
this
in the
was-
can for a while.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah.
So the rest of the announcement, here's their little quip. This time, the Bride of Frankenstein is stepping out of the shadows and taking her fate into her own bloody hands. The mate will have her monster, and the monster his mate.
Oh,
That's pretty straight to the point.
I like it.
We know what's going to happen. We know where it is in Orlando. A lot of people know like what it is. You've experienced it already in Orlando. We can't speak too much more about it, but there is some fun stuff for Hollywood that came out about it. Murdy directly stated that this is something that came from Patrick Braillard, actually, and that he loved the idea and wanted to bring it over to Hollywood. But it is going to be quite a bit different. He's saying that this is more of how she becomes the Doctor, rather than what we saw in Orlando. So I think that's an interesting take on it. I'm not sure exactly what that means or what we'd see, but it is cool that a property like this that has such a kind of cool like base story to it, and we get to see two completely different versions
Stories.
stories that are kind of the same, just done differently. So I am excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's a fun way to do it. Is we're gonna get a totally different, basically, retelling of this from a different perspective in this house. So that's really cool.
Yep, definitely. And then that visible book facade that we've seen in Hollywood for quite a while. I know for a long time people thought that was for Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
the handbook of the recently deceased, but it is now actually the Bride facade. It says it on there, the Bride of Frankenstein Lives. So that's officially its location. And it's always fun to see a little bit more construction progress. In Hollywood, it's so easy to see it all.
Yeah.
So we know the location in both parks. There was also a Bride of Frankenstein. There was a bride shirt. We'll say a bride shirt was released.
Yeah, no, this
it
shirt.
looks so really cool design. However, Frankenstein is the centerpiece. The bride is just kind of up in the top right corner. It definitely calls back more to the movie than the house, which there's things to be said about it. I think it can be taken as disappointing that it's a woman-led house, right?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun.
The shirt that
I'm
they
gonna just
released,
straight up and say it. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I think it's the wrong choice for sure. I guarantee we will see more options where she is front and center. It already happened last year. So I think there's two reasons that's messed up. One, for the reason we already stated, in that it's a woman-led house. Maybe the preview merch, I know they just call it preview merch, but when you release one single shirt, like with the announcement, it should be like the shirt or one of the shirts.
right.
But also, again, it should probably be based more off the house in general, regardless of any of the content, if it's for the house announcement. So why is it not based off the house and off like the actual movie and the original property? It just very poor, or at least decisions we disagree with.
Yeah, I get what they were trying to do with this. They were trying to make it kind of like a classic Frankenstein poster. But even so, like, I think does the Bride of Frankenstein poster features the Bride of Frankenstein more than this did, right?
It's pretty similar actually.
Is it?
Yeah, I like you could say maybe she takes up a slightly larger percentage, but it's very similar. But again, last year we saw shirts that were just her, massive screen print right on the front of the shirt. I'm sure we'll get stuff like that again, but maybe you should have started with a shirt like that represents the house better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
we'll probably get a couple more.
Would I have bought it if it was like an actual house shirt? Yeah, probably. But I didn't buy this one because I was like, it looks cool, but it's not the house shirt. That's not what it is. It's just based off the property in the general sense.
I am looking at a current poster of the Bride of Frankenstein where she is featured as prominent as a Frankenstein is. She's on the one half and he's on the other, but she's just as big as him. And like it has both of them as the Bride of Frankenstein. I don't know if this is the official poster of the 1935 the Bride of Frankenstein, but because I'm seeing a couple of others as well.
I'm thinking of the one that I think it said like warning on it. And she takes up a smaller portion, like Frankenstein is clearly featured. I don't know.
Yeah, you're the warning one. Yeah, okay. I'm seeing that one too. Yeah, but she's still featured in there more than what the shirt did.
Yes, yeah.
But I am seeing one where she is, right as big as Frankenstein.
Regardless, she should have been bigger than him on the house shirt.
Yeah,
she is the feature, and she should take precedence. And if this was released with one of many shirts, which I'm sure it will be at the event, fine. But when it's that 1 year release, yeah, basically, I'm just saying I think it was the wrong choice.
I don't think it's
a bad idea to have the shirt as an option. I think it looks good. I think going back to the more, or just calling back to the property itself is not a bad idea. Just don't make it the preview shirt. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
We're on the same page.
This won't be the first time tonight we talk about a possible wrong choice by Universal. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Little tease for y'all out there.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
So I think that's all we have, Nico. I'm surprised you haven't waxed on about.
Well, you've pretty much covered all the points with that. Anything else would just be continual vomit. So,
fair enough.
But yeah, it's a great aesthetic for there. I was blown away by seeing that, especially compared to like the Jack announcement video and the Texas Chainsaw video. It definitely blows those two out of the water.
It is. It's the standout of the year for sure, and maybe the standout ever for an announcement video, I'd say.
Yeah, it was good.
But I think that's about it for Bride. We've talked about it for about a year now, so we don't need to say too much more, but it's coming back and now going to Hollywood as well. So before we move on, hey, the Spec maps released. We'll talk about those in a second. I want to bring up one more thing that kind of completes them a little bit more before we discuss them. And that's that we have some visible construction in Orlando as well, where you can now see the scary facade back at the Men in Black tent.
Yeah,
from just right out in the park. It's like an old 50s style welcome to Carrie sign with red paint that says scary. And I mean, it looks really good. It looks pretty large. So it seems like one of the more impressive, if not the most impressive, depending on how you look at House of a Thousand Corpses, facade in that location.
And you went to go actually check this out in person for yourself, right?
Yeah, I did. I saw it in pictures in better quality than I can actually see it with my own eyes, but I still went and looked because, that's what I do. Why not?
Yeah. So where from the park can you see this? Is basically like the Men in Black?
Yeah, you have to go to where the large Men in Black sign is, and go stand on the curb, and that's how you're gonna get a real nice view of it.
Gotcha.
There was
quite anyone who wants to go take a look,
standing around trying to look at it. Yeah, when Duff and I went to go see it.
yeah. But yeah, it's cool to see some visible stuff happening, especially when it's for a house. I know we've actually now seen, I'll bring this up as well, there's aerial footage of the sprung tents. They're having their facades built out, not actually with anything on them, but just the structures themselves. So just seeing all this stuff happening now, feeling like it's close. I made a joke on Twitter about how when the Fear Factor sign gets covered up with that black tarp, that's like my holy shit, we're getting close moment. Well, it happened. So holy shit, we're getting close.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, like about 6 weeks or so at this point.
Yeah, it's that's not wrong. By the time you hear this, it's basically 6.5 weeks till the event.
Yep. So it's
That's
coming up.
insane.
And they got a lot to announce still.
Yes.
Oh yes. Oh yes. All right, so let's talk about these spec maps. We did get what is 3.0 for Orlando and a 4.0 for Hollywood. Of course, this is from Horror Night Nightmares, as always. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's do Orlando. Let's start with Orlando.
All right. Easy, because there's like no changes. Really quick.
Well, there's one big change.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's very simple. So let me just read off what we have here, and we're going to end with the big shebang. Bride of Frankenstein Lives, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Revenge of the Tooth Fairy, HHN Icons Captured, Welcome to Scary, The Wicked Growth Puppet Theater, The Haunting of Hill House, Beetlejuice, and an original in the Shrek Theater. Oh,
yeah.
It finally happened. It says original. Now,
if you look close, you can see something.
Before we say what that is, they did put a little asterisk, and their comment about that is, the truth is we actually do know but we aren't going to tell you. We believe this is something HHN fans are going to love, so we decided just to let you be surprised this time. Well, they say that, but they don't leave it as much of a surprise to what it will be.
No, they don't.
As they stick the Legendary Truth logo right in the middle of the O in original.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I'm glad y'all got it.
This is actually something I've been floating around beforehand too, that it would be Legendary Truth. So this isn't a huge surprise. I know we've talked about in previous episodes how maybe Halloween 3 and Creepshow weren't so locked in as we expected, and in the way that it was made to be seen. But it's Legendary Truth, guys.
Yeah, this is something we've heard floating around for a little bit. Again, we don't say anything that's not announced somewhere else. But yeah, it sounds like now we have official.
Officially a rumor has started.
Officially a rumor from someone with a good track record.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we fully expect it to be this. I am very excited. I don't know about you.
I am extremely excited.
Actually, I know you're excited because when we had talked about it before, the just possibility had you very, very ecstatic.
Yeah. No, this just kind of rounds out. We already had a very fan servicey history type event with the icons and scary and Terra Corinthus, and now we have a Legendary Truth House. I don't know how much more we can get for an anniversary year like this,
and that also puts us at 6 originals and 4 IPs on an anniversary year. That is just phenomenal. And don't try to argue the whole, anyone out there, don't argue that there's 7. Universal Monsters is a Universal IP. It's just because Universal owns it and just because it's original story doesn't mean the property is not an intellectual property. Really quick, I'm going to go on a tiny tangent here because I've always wondered why this exists, specifically in the HHN community. Because do you remember in Epcot when they opened Frozen Ever After and everyone complained they were putting an IP into Epcot? Disney owns that property. It's an original story, but it's still an IP.
And their argument is going to be like, well, yeah, but it's different when it's like that.
Sure.
Which they're always going to do. People in any theme park community are always going to pick and choose like what hills they die on. And, some people are going to choose the hill to die on that Universal Monsters is an original IP for HHN. So,
yeah, but it's just wrong. It's actually wrong.
It is wrong.
If you were someone who's like, in my mind, I look at them as an originals, that's fine. You can look at it as it's basically story wise, it's built out like an original, but it's still an IP at the end of the day.
And we've had ones that are a little bit even more ambiguous than this in the past, like Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare, or Penn
Even
and Teller, Nuked
Vegas, yeah.
Vegas, yes,
Yeah.
or Nevermore, the Madness of Poe. Like these are all ones that could be like, yeah, they were kind of like original stories, but around other like intellectual properties.
Exactly.
And I like how that's their argument is that, oh well, they're original stories based off of IP, and I'm like, but it's still IP. Like Rise of the Resistance is an
Yep.
original story, but it's still IP.
Exactly. That's all you have to do is take this to like the Disney side of things, where people like complain about IP to their death about it being in parks. It doesn't matter if it's an original story. The fact that you would bring in IP into the parks pisses so many people off. Different reaction here, but the base fit's the same. It's an IP at the end of the day. So just wanted to get that out there. IP, not original. You can look at it in your head as an original. That's fine, but it's an IP.
Yeah, I mean Billie Eilish. I looked at it was still an IP, but I looked at that as an original house because we had no clue what that was going to look like. Unlike where a movie where you have a little bit of an idea of what you're about to see, but again, still technically an IP.
Yeah, exactly. If we would have had it, we would have counted it as 5 IPs if it was replacing Legendary Truth and Shrek. So, that's it. That's my rant.
All right. Well, we can hop off that soapbox for some reason. Let's keep moving forward.
So there was one more change actually. It's a small one. It's more just kind of a description change. The show that is going to be in Fear Factor, which was I'm not looking at it right now, but it was called like Jack's show of some sort. It was a Jack show. Now they've updated to say Carnival of Carnage type magic show.
Okay.
So that does make me think the original Carnival of Carnage show, which was actually more magic style based,
right?
Not an actual magic show, but it had like elements of that. So I guess that's kind of what they're going for. I don't fully know, but that's what it says now.
I mean, I've heard like a little bit of a different take on this, but so it's interesting to see them put this because it kind of goes away with some of the things that I've been hearing.
Yeah,
but
I feel like
we'll be interested to see.
It's probably reading too much into it if you really look at the magic show part, because Carnival of Carnage in its original incarnation was like a magic type show, but not with actual like magic performers or anything like that. Magicians, I believe they're called.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they probably just put it to be a little bit more descriptive of what Carnival of Carnage is, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like an actual magic show in any way. But who knows? Maybe they're going to have legit magicians on the stage doing magic. That'd be weird, but it could work, I guess. I don't know. We'll see when it gets here.
Bring back that Brian, what was his name? Brian Bushwood? Magic guy who was Halloween Horror Nights staple for a couple of years.
I don't remember his name. I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember his name.
I think it's like Brian Bushwood.
If you're right, I'm very impressed.
I am Googling it. I don't think I'm right, but I'm somewhat close.
So wait, they just like had a magician like roaming around, or?
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Brian Brushwood. I was right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I said Bushwood at one point, but the other time I said Brushwood, and it is Brushwood.
Bushwood's funnier. So.
I just giggled at it like I was 12.
Yeah.
Bushwood. All right, let's get to this.
That's a country club from Caddyshack. It's Bushwood.
Let's get to the spec map that's a little bit more changed.
Before we do, I want to one more thing about this map.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I want to talk about something that has yet to change, in that they did not touch any of the scare zones. They're exactly the same as the others, which I am shocked by. I have to admit.
I will say that doesn't necessarily mean they don't know anything different, but I'm sure they want to put out a spec map or two more before the event, so you can't ruin it all right now. You know, you got to hold some stuff off. Don't have
And
to tell
scare
us the
zones,
second you know.
scare zones are notoriously are change very
Yeah.
last minute as
Yeah.
well.
That too. So it could be that maybe they're just less confident and aren't ready to either update them, or maybe these are the exact scare zones we're gonna get. I don't think so, but maybe they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I would take the scare zone section of this with a grain of salt.
All right. Do we have anything else on Orlando?
Nope. Let's keep moving.
All right. So crazy Hollywood time. So we actually did a little cut in last week. So if you listened to our last episode, you heard very little about what this is, basically what the houses are and what some of the surprising moves were. I'm going to read them to you real quick. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Walking Dead Attraction, Haunting of Hill House, Bride of Frankenstein Lives, Curse of Pandora's Box, The Terror Tram, and the big ones being no Beetlejuice and no Halloween 3, but now The Exorcist and Halloween Kills. They also do have 5 unknown scare zones and Jabberwockies as a show.
Okay.
So yeah, big changes there. Halloween 3, people excited about, planning trips for it, gone. Beetlejuice, massive IP, already announced here, gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we did see there was a sighting of an Exorcist facade in Soundstage 29 at Hollywood, and the next day this was on the spec map. It seems pretty legit. It's something that had kind of been out a little bit before too, so it's not shocking to us necessarily. And it just seems like it's going to happen, and multiple people have seen it now. You know, with how Hollywood is, people are on the back lot and they can see stuff. So if anything's left open, you're getting a sight of what's in there. Multiple people have seen the facade and kind of confirmed it. Yeah, no Beetlejuice. You're getting The Exorcist, Hollywood.
Yeah.
No Beetlejuice. That's insane.
I mean, we've touched it already. They're trying to do their best to make this event as fleshed out as humanly possible with the budget constraints that they're working with. And if they have to bring out a house that they have in storage to provide someone a big name IP like The Exorcist, I understand what they have to do here.
Now, do you want to hear? I don't know if we've talked about this. Maybe we did. But everyone listening, do you want to hear what the potential reasons for why there's no Beetlejuice and that it's not actually Universal's decision?
Really?
You remember when we had that rumor that we were opening up just for 2 days last year here in Orlando?
Yes.
Basically, so we had to fill a contract because we had shirts for sale. Well, this summer at City Walk, I believe, Hollywood released some Beetlejuice shirts, but they did not have a house. Apparently, complete rumor, it is being said by insiders that are right a lot, but this voided the contract. And yeah, they lost Beetlejuice pretty late.
Wow.
Well, I've also heard Beetlejuice was busy during a Space Jam, a new Legacy event as well. So he's too busy being.
Was Beetlejuice in it? Oh my God, you're right.
He absolutely was. Yes.
I heard. I didn't watch it. I heard basically it's Ready Player One, but Space Jam at this point.
both are bad movies. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's like Ralph Breaks the Internet, but meets the Space Jam. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I don't like. I should watch it just because I of course enjoy the original Space Jam, but it looks so bad.
Yeah.
If you like The Mask and you like Mr. Freeze slightly out of focus, then you will love this movie.
If you love the Easter eggs of a Halloween Horror Nights house and you I'd be like, oh, like you will. It's just an Easter egg movie. Like it's like spotting all the random Warner Brothers. Somehow this has turned into the Space Jam minute. But
what you're telling me is Space Jam: A New Legacy to HHN confirmed.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yes.
All right. So Hollywood spec map. Those are the two big ones, man, and they're really big. That's the two biggest properties and the two biggest on anyone's kind of hype lists that don't exist yet, but I know they were. Everyone was hyped for those properties, and they're gone. And the same spec map. So if you're someone who's Hollywood based, or that's your local HHN, that's really gotta hurt.
Yeah, it's gotta be hard. Yeah, for sure.
I did say a few people say something along the lines of, "Good, now I don't have to go waste my money." So I guess some people are happy about it for reasons that I wouldn't share.
That part, it's going to be packed no matter what. Like let's be honest. Like that is such a local event over
People are
there
going no matter what.
It's always insane. More than here. It's just always packed.
So something we didn't talk about last time or last week when we did our tiny little quip on the spec map is the Terror Tram being back. Which is very, very interesting because we know a good portion of its path is now blocked by tents.
Yeah, that's what I'm surprised about. Like last time we talked about Jonathan, he seemed to be very confused about how this would work.
The fact that they took it off and then put it back on, like, we say it all the time. They don't have the same credibility they do with Hollywood as they do Orlando, but they know stuff. They know stuff. So it just seems very weird that they take it off and then put it back on without actually expecting it.
Yeah.
Now, as someone who just visits Hollywood, not even every year yet, I hope that's going to happen from here forward. But getting the Terror Tram is pretty special because it's such a unique thing. So that would help sell me on this trip a lot more. Even though I'm probably going to take it regardless, but it would help sell a lot of other people on that trip more, having that unique aspect of the event back.
Yeah. I mean, that at this point, the Terror Tram would be my draw over there,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily, just me, I'm not going to necessarily make the trip for seeing a Halloween Kills house, or something like that. But the Terror Tram would be.
What about Curse of Pandora's Box? You aren't traveling for that?
Probably not. No, I've watched a walkthrough of that.
It did look pretty solid. I mean, I know they're upset that it's supposedly going to be just a repeat of 2019's, but I didn't go through 2019, so
So without getting Universal Hollywood really mad at us, how many of these sound like they have a potential of just being a repeat from a house?
Like a direct repeat looks like probably 3. If we're not counting the Walking Dead attraction, because we shouldn't. It's not a maze. It's an attraction. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Curse of Pandora's Box, and that's the Exorcist. We don't know for sure,
but there's a potential there as well, right?
Yeah. I will say it was in a very different location, so it won't be a carbon copy, but it could be executed very similarly because it was in the Mummy queue at 2016, and now it's going to be in Soundstage 29. So dealing with a lot
Texas Chainsaw Massacre
space.
was in the exact same location as the 2012.
Oh, that I don't know actually. We can find out in a second though. In the meantime, before we get to that point, while I'm looking this up, you were mentioning Halloween Kills, like how that would be a draw. Well, there's this fun thing going around that maybe it's not Halloween Kills now, and maybe it's Halloween 4.
Okay.
It's actually
which we got
popped
here.
Up. What they got there as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep, same year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's turning into what is left that wouldn't be a repeat then?
Yeah, that's a good question. Haunting of Hill House, obviously, and Bride. And The Exorcist won't be a repeat. It's a repeat of the property, but that's they can execute it similarly, but it cannot be the same exact thing. But anyways, it was actually in the Jurassic Park queue in 2012. Now back to the Halloween 4 thing. It's kind of a little rumor that's probably picked up steam because of what's been seen, and that's if you go over to Twitter. We've shouted him out before. He's the HHN sleuth. It's at HHN Mannix. Justin, he's always noticing things that no one else sees.
Yeah.
The way he looks at an image and just picks stuff out is pretty incredible. But if you go over to what used to be the Halloween 3 facade, it's changed a little bit. No more silver shamrock. And now it has this gas station, I guess, gas station corner store. And it has a sign of sandwiches, coffee, pop, and beer. Well, that was something you would have seen in Halloween 4 and has been used in the Halloween 4 house in the past. So that's Penny's gas station. It's the sign says exactly what it would say. You don't see pennies. I will say that. Just has the sandwiches, coffee, pop, and beer, but in the same exact form. So it's it's looking like it actually could be Halloween 4. I know some people have said, well, maybe with all this different stuff showing up, maybe it's like a mashup. And if you don't know anything about Halloween's rights, every movie's different pretty much. And it takes a different level to get the rights to the films. And it's an absolute mess. So the chances of them doing a mashup, very slim, I'd say. It would take a lot of money to get all the rights to those.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's looking like, so you got, at the very least, you're repeating properties in more than half the event, with 3 of those being potentially direct repeats. That's worrisome for the quality of the event, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we, have to have a little bit of understanding.
Again, yeah, definitely. And then also, I really am not trying to just sit here and trash Hollywood. I know we joke about it a lot, but I don't want to sit here and just like bash what's coming. I'm just saying it doesn't look like it's going to be their best event by any means. That's all.
All right. Let's go from that to probably let's bring down the news, the mood just a little bit more. Duff, what rumor has kind of started to gain legs throughout the community?
Well, I wouldn't say it's gained legs. I will say there's one article that is very heavy on it.
And it has scared a lot of people.
It has scared a lot of people.
There's a lot of anxious Halloween Horror Nights Orlando fans all over Twitter because of this.
Let's tie it back to last week. We brought up frequent fear passes and the possibility of them not coming and them coming. And honestly, it's a waiting game. And it's still sounded like, and from a lot of people, still sounds like they're expected to happen. That, things can change, of course. But the expectation is that we're going to get maybe not in the same exact form, but frequent fear passes, Rush of Fear, all that good stuff.
Right.
Well, Theme Park University released an article
by Josh Young
titled, "Could Universal Orlando be killing their frequent fear pass program?" That's what the article's about.
Yes.
So pretty much they start by just a lot of speculation. One starting with, well, how come if we're this late into the process, they're not announced? Because then you're just losing money, which I think they make a lot of good points in this article, and that's not one of them. You are making more money by only having single night tickets available because you're making more money per ticket or per visit by a long margin. So you want to sell as many of those as possible. And your ROI is soaring because of that. And then you could release the less value to the company tickets at a later date.
Right.
So I would say that's their only argument that I'd kind of pick apart.
I might pick apart a few more.
We'll keep
going.
There's more. There's more to pick apart.
I would say their other ones have some merit and reasoning to them, where I think that one is kind of the complete opposite of what the actual situation would be.
You can keep okay. We can go going.
Okay.
Or do we want to go point by point and comment on them?
No, we don't have to. We don't have to.
Let's. You can just keep going though.
Okay.
What else does you say?
Um, what were his other like points that he like the speculation part? There was a little bit more to it. I can't think of what it was.
He also said stuff about there's too many people who would get frequent fear pass.
Okay, yeah.
So they're like, oh, the crowds would just be completely unmanageable if we let everyone have frequent fear again this year. So to make the lines more manageable, they're going to not have frequent fear passes.
Yeah. This is my biggest sticking point with this line of reasoning.
Yeah.
So there's two reasons why I think this line of reasoning is off base. One, that Halloween Horror Nights and Universal makes killing on selling tickets that allow you to skip the lines. So express passes and RIP tours. The fact that the lines are long means they make money. So I don't think Universal is going to not sell frequent fear passes just because they want to make the lines shorter. And two, 2019 and I believe 2018 as well had fairly on weeknights had fairly manageable lines because of the 10 houses. So if you looked back at the busiest time, 2012, 2013, if they were going to kill frequent fear, those times where the lines were insane would have been the time they would probably have pulled the trigger if that was the reason why they were going to kill frequent fear.
I do like that. I like that side of it. And you're right. They monetize being busy.
Yeah, they make money on how crowded it is. They like it to be crowded.
Okay.
Also,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so the frequent fear, like pass person, most likely is also probably a higher in-park spender as well, because most likely on every single night that they come, they are most likely getting at least a $10 drink or something along the lines with that, especially if they have improved, food and beverage choices there. They might even spend more than you would say a single night ticket person who is only going to go there one night and is focused on just getting, all the attractions done. So they'll probably do that and buy an express pass and then maybe not waste their time buying, food or drink with that way. So it can be argued that it can be that way for there, which we kind of brought that up last week by saying, like, Universal, if you don't do that, SeaWorld is going to pounce on you and they will be more than happy to sell, a frequent fear pass to Hallow Scream and also sell you Anheuser-Busch beers along the promenade. So,
and I think that's.
Yes, I know they're not owned anymore, but that's.
I think that's the most clear issue with them not selling frequent fear passes is that the in-park spending you get from guests that are coming back and back and back is going to be maybe not as high on a single night as a one-night guest, but the amount of times they come back, you're talking 10, 20 times what a single night guest is going to spend. Easy. I myself, I'm a drink and food completionist. I'm going to try it all over the course of the event. I'm also just going to get at least a drink or two every night I go anyways, whether it's a new one or not. I'm buying merch. I'm buying a lot of shit. Like, I love spending money at this event.
Yeah, you're going to spend money at the event every single night you go. And every frequent fear, I would say a very good majority of frequent fear users spend money every time they go to Universal. Even I have an annual pass. We all have annual passes to Universal. Most likely, I buy a drink every time I go. So not only are they getting a monthly payment from me, but they also get somewhere between $7 to $20 from me every time I walk into that park.
Last time I went there, I ate in 3 hours. I ate 2 meals and had a beer.
Yeah.
And that's just on a regular night. Imagine me at Horror Nights. You don't have to. You've seen it.
Yeah.
I take my card. Whatever.
Right.
I don't care. I throw money out the window and just enjoy myself at Horror Nights completely. And like you said, that's a lot of, or not most people, because on my side, it's not just me. It's most of the people I go with are the same exact way. They want to drink, they want to eat everything, and they want to do it every single night they go. And we go 20 plus nights a year, easy.
Right. And I would like to point out, if you don't have an annual pass, just getting into the parking lot and paying for parking is $25 right there if you're using that frequent fee.
Which
and
some
I was
people do.
I was in that boat last year. I did not have an annual pass, and so every time I went, I had to pay for parking.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made off frequent fear pass holders outside of the ticket itself.
So looking at another point that he makes, like going back to how he says that there may be like too much demand for frequent fear to actually exist this year. I guess there's a lot of domestic demand, but there is absolutely, I was looking at the travel guidelines for the United Kingdom and for Brazil, which are probably the two largest, international visitors are from the United Kingdom and from Brazil who come to visit Orlando. Right now, it's still extremely hard for them to travel to the United States. And not only that, having to do quarantines again when they get back home.
Yep.
And especially if the Delta variant starts to go up, I mean, we may not get almost any international travel.
Yeah, international travel.
Especially the UK. For the UK, it's looking horrible. I know it's just kind of going a little bit off, but the Delta variant has really killed any chances of not necessarily by HHN, things could change, but right now they were already talking about we'd get to the point where the US and the UK can travel back and forth, but that is not happening because of the Delta variant. We are not getting that path open anytime soon. It's looking like probably not by Horror Nights. I'm hoping for our English friends that changes, but it doesn't look good right now.
And I think that's what Universal is waiting for. They wanted to see what nights they're going to be doing that, and then they're going to adjust their pricing for frequent fear, where it's like, okay, you can go on these X days because this pass will be this much. You go these X days. This pass will be this much. It'll be that way. I am fully expecting to pay over 20% higher than what we saw in 2019.
Wouldn't be shocked.
Or higher.
Wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
Which was about...
and I've budgeted that, and everybody should expect that. And we really shouldn't see people going out and complaining that there's going to be a higher price for frequent fear this year just because of all the pent-up demand.
And it was already an amazing value. We were talking frequent fear plus, where you only didn't have Saturdays, but they gave you 2 Saturdays anyways. $150.
Yeah, no, I won't be shocked if the prices are higher, and I wouldn't be shocked if the amount of days you can go or would be more limited. We have seen them tweak that in the past, where they take away Saturdays and then Fridays, and then do different tiers. And I could see some tiers of the frequent fear pass just going away, and but the fact that he's saying that frequent fear passes would disappear completely, I just cannot buy it. I can't. I just don't believe it at all. And he goes on to say that from what he is being told, whatever that statement means, from what he is hearing, that as currently the frequent fear is off the table, and they are going to focus on pushing multi-nights tickets for whatever that looks. And he does not have any more basically solid thing about what that looks like. He goes on to speculate what multi-night tickets would look like, but he's saying he doesn't expect them to be more than like 3 or 4 nights at a time.
And I do want to reiterate this part. When we were talking about, he was spent most of this article purely speculating, but he does come out and say that he's hearing something. To quote him, "If what I'm hearing is correct, frequent fear passes are out the window entirely. Instead, they will only be selling multi-day tickets." And then saying how they would be expanded, so potentially more days.
I do want to say something just like in defense. So Josh Young is the one who runs Theme Park University, and he has done a lot of good work in the past, though. He has had some accuracy there. Yeah, exactly. I just want to make sure, let everyone know, hey, we're not going after Josh precisely for this. Josh is a good part and has written many great articles that I really like. I read every single one of his articles that come out because he's good. Like it's a good part of the community. I'm glad he's here. We just have some disagreements to his reasoning on the latest article, which is fair. Like, and we have brought up all fair points to that. But take this as no way as an attack on Josh.
I would also like to just say, and this is me speculating, but I don't know if this decision is being made. I don't know, this decision would be making so high up that I don't know if it would necessarily accurate information would be trickling down in a way that for certain, someone could spoil, like pass this to him for certain. There could be rumors in there that they're, because things are changing and people are hearing these rumors, but I don't believe he is being, I just can't imagine that he's being passed accurate information just because this decision would be made so high up and they would keep it pretty quiet.
Here's the thing. We are pretty confident this is something that has been discussed, that this was potentially a possibility, but it's kind of come to more, it might be changed a bit. There's still discussions going on, but I don't see, from what has been said and things we've been hearing, that there's imminent danger of this happening, of frequent fear passes being cut. It sounds like, for the most part, all things are a go. Maybe in a slightly different form, but not completely obliterated. I will say most of this article does almost make it seem like it's a fact until he, does the I could be wrong thing.
And I don't necessarily like the premise that the reason why he's like, well, like 2021 is like totally like, oh, of course it would happen in 2021 for these reasons. I would like to, for my opinion, I think 2021 would be kind of a bad time to do this, unless they are still trying to restrict how many people are going into that park.
No,
but I just we're not seeing that during the day, so I just can't imagine they would be doing it at night. And like Nico said, the international travel is not going to be there, and if yes, there's going to be some pent up demand locally for this event, but the last couple of years have not been too bad on the weekdays anyway. The days you should be going to the event, when most frequent fear people do go. I just can't imagine them taking that away. It would make the crowds so low, and they then would lose out money on Express Pass and RIP tours, because those are bread and butter tickets that they push very heavily to people who only have one day to experience this event.
Frequent fear basically exists so they can get crowds on their slower days. It works. It works. Like, can you imagine, we go and it's slower on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Or whatever, and imagine how slow it'd be if there wasn't frequent fear. It'd be dead. They wouldn't, like,
they would have to scale back the days they would do the event.
And I also want to go back to your whole thing about capacity. So you would think if this were to happen, reason one would be capacity. I'm not willing to fully go out on a limb and say they aren't limiting capacity at all anymore, but they are very close to being back where they should be.
Universal has not hit capacity since April,
and
and the parks are busier than they were in April.
Lines for food and rides are enormous.
Right. And they're not social distancing in the lines anymore.
Like, they're actually that long. So we're going to say it's not for that reason. So the other reason you'd do something like that would be for staffing. So basically you'd use a reservation system. You know how many people to expect at the park, right? Universal didn't even use a reservation system during the peak of this.
Right.
Why would they use it now? This is more arguing the reason, not the article itself, but just the standard reasons of taking it away. Financially, I don't get it. And operationally, I don't get it. Because unless you're going to suddenly start restricting capacity only for HHN, or if you're going to start doing a reservation system so you know how many guests are coming, which they haven't done the entire time, I don't see the reason whatsoever, other than absolutely pissing off your fan base that are locals.
Right. And I will end this with saying we have been very confused by choices that Universal has made in the past.
It wouldn't be the first time.
It wouldn't be the first time. So if this does happen and our minds is completely blown by it, I'm not going to say I would be shocked, but it wouldn't be coming from totally left field, because it is something like we have been confused. Mainly the whole Beetlejuice opening for 2 days thing that really blew my mind that happened. But and now it sounds like there was a reason why that had to happen.
Yeah. Well, let's give ourselves the safety net too and say, hey, guess what? I guess it's possible. We're saying like we're almost sounding like it's impossible. We don't know. It is possible.
It's possible, but I would take this with a grain of salt. But yeah. Anyway.
Hey, I think we got a voicemail.
Yeah. All right. Voicemail. Yeah. Someone left us a voicemail, right, Mike?
Yes, we did. We have a voicemail. Our friend who called last week, Kyle, called back to ask us another question.
All right, let's cue it up.
Hey guys, Kyle back from Most Excellent Adventures. Just want to follow up with you guys. Thank you so much for sharing my voicemail on the show and answering my question the best to your abilities. And if I have any more interesting questions, I will definitely shoot them you guys' way. You guys definitely have me as a listener. But you guys just keep doing what you're doing. And for fun, here is a little fun question. Don't know if you guys are into anime or not, but if you could have a anime-based HHN house or scare zone, what would it be and why? And if I could choose, it would probably be Attack on Titan or Castlevania from Netflix, because that would be pretty cool to see all the demons and stuff from Castlevania and the vampires. And then Attack on Titan's frightening on its own. They did something like that over in Japan, and it was pretty cool. I mean, I wish they would bring that over here to the States. But anyways, thank you guys. Remember, just be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for calling again, Kyle. So yeah, are you guys anime watchers?
Anime for me is mainly Dragon Ball and Pokemon, so I'd say no.
Yeah.
I do have an answer, luckily, but the answer to that question is no.
Yeah, I watch very little anime, I have to admit, Kyle. But I do have a couple of I could just stretch this a little bit and say I really like the Japanese horror movie. Like I like Japanese horror movies, and I think there's a couple that would make a really great Halloween Horror Nights houses. Not necessarily anime, but and I also think I am starting to watch Attack on Titan, and I think that would be cool. So I agree with you there. But then I think it's not anime, but I think a battle royale house would be really cool. Would never happen, but it would be cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what that is, but my answer is kind of the only like legit anime I've watched and enjoyed fully, and that's Death Note. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know how you pull it off at HHN in any capacity, but I love the premise of the show. There's a lot of death, obviously, and there's some creepiness to it as well. So I'm sure they could make it work.
Nico, do you watch any anime?
I don't know how Speed Racer would work as a house, so
Yeah.
I've been trying to wrap my mind around that. Like I guess that, and I've watched a couple episodes of Initial D and like maybe an episode or two of Naruto, and that, or like some friends have shown me One Piece. I don't know enough about anime. I respect the art form as that. It's just that it's something I don't seek out and watch. As an animation fan, I should probably watch more anime, but most of my stuff is more domestic domestic-based
All right.
animation.
Yeah.
Let me throw you a softball here then and change it up
Yeah.
a bit. Just an animated film series that you think would be good.
Well, like for an HHN house,
Yeah. Yeah, HHN in any capacity.
Hmm.
Just like cartoons.
Well, you've
It
already
would
talked
be
about
funny
this,
to it would be funny
Treehouse of
to
Tour.
yeah, Treehouse
Like
of Horror, but it would be funny to see like an Real Monsters house. I think that would be cool. You
Okay.
know,
Okay.
that it kind of
Yeah.
writes itself. So, but that would be fun. That'd be a fun time. Like the Klasky Chupo designs are already butt ugly to begin with, so it'd be cool
Hey,
to
whoa.
just see it go right in there. Yeah, no, I'm saying it. I'm saying it.
Can I get a meet and greet with Ickis? That'd be great.
And,
Ickis meet and greet would be cool. I'd love that.
I can't think of a ton off the top of my head, but I do remember that creepy animated movie 9.
Oh yeah, I remember
I think
that.
that would be pretty cool. Or then like Coraline, I think as well would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
You want like the Beetlejuicy vibes with it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are you went the right direction for sure. I do like that Nico took it to 90s Nickelodeon, which is my absolute jam. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But yeah, he happens to also mention the Attack on Titan the attraction they had at Universal Japan. I believe that was during the day, Kyle. I'm not sure that was a Halloween Horror Nights exclusive thing, but I believe that was something that was open all the time over there. But that would be cool if we got something over here. I just don't believe the popularity of anime is necessary at that same level yet, though.
And then I do believe Kyle left us kind of a follow up. That's just more of a he wanted to say something. So while we're here, let's just play that.
All right.
Hey, Kyle again from Most Excellent Adventures. Something I forgot to leave in the last voicemail I left with you guys is I hope to meet you guys this year at HHN at some point. My wife and I met Nico last year. It was pretty cool. And we also need some Sin Island shirts because I think that is hilarious. I was listening to one of your later podcasts and where Nico said that Rob Zombie Scare Zone was Sin Island. I think that's absolutely hilarious. We need that as a t-shirt. I'll buy like 5. But thank you guys again. Remember, be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes.
Don't give Nico any ideas. You know, he already has his spam t-shirts or canned beef, whatever it is, canned beef t-shirts ready for all the time. And now you're giving him Sin Island t-shirts.
I need like a sash that says like Mayor of Sin Island.
Right. And then like
Sinful Island.
We're gonna create a meet and greet at Duff Gardens with the mayor of Sinful Island.
Yeah.
Some sort of like I hate killer clowns t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If we ever do make any sort of kind of like referential 365 shirts, Sinful Island would definitely be one of them. I will say.
For sure.
Kyle says like I met him.
Yeah.
Last year.
I was
Tell us the story, Kyle.
Yeah.
We need more details on this because I don't think I remember meeting anyone last year. Really, that wasn't like I already knew beforehand.
Yeah, we were trying to wrap our head around when you would have met Nico by himself
And how you found him. And knew it was
HHN
Nico.
liked we were all together for a while, and we were with Hunter, who is a recognizable dude in the community. So there's a potential there.
Yeah.
But
I would need to know like what park like you met me at.
Was it at Publix?
I don't remember meeting anyone.
I think we said Parks, so it probably wasn't Publix.
Yeah.
and then
I'm not
there
sure.
is
We're gonna need more information.
Losh TV has someone who is in his videos who is also named Nikos, and he is part of the community. So you might be confusing him with Losh TV's friend, who is also named Nico.
Or you
So
went
it's not-
to a meet and greet with Miko from Pocahontas. and
Yeah.
got confused there. I've been called Miko many a time, so that's a common thing. I mean, we both enjoy a nice cracker.
Or you maybe
now
really
and
did
then,
meet
so.
Yeah, who knows?
Miko with your wife.
He's just forgetting.
Yeah,
He just
Uh,
does not remember. But
if you want to call in, or if it's easier for you, just shoot us a message on exactly how this happened. We are curious.
yeah, very curious about this. I want to make sure I'm not losing my brain.
Well, we already know you are. Just to what
yeah,
level?
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very confused. All right. Well, that just about wraps up everything we have to talk about. As always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at HHN365. And you can always leave us a voicemail at 407-906-3405. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you in the streets.